and I'll see you again tomorrow. So long, everybody.
Sports Center is brought to you by Michelob. One taste will tell you why. The night belongs to Michelob.
Berger survives this inferno. We'll update his condition and tell you why he survived. And rookies prepare for the greatest spectacle in racing. This and more next on Speedweeks.
Speedweek is brought to you by Dodge Cars and Trucks. On the street or off the road, it's the new spirit of Dodge.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Speed Week. I'm Bob Jenkins. We begin another Thursday Night Thunder, culminating in live USAC midget racing from the quarter mile at Ascot Park in California, beginning at 10 o'clock Eastern Time. Our top story this evening, Formula One. 1989 is supposed to be a year of change, from turbocharged engines to normally aspirated engines, and from one team, McLaren, dominating everything in sight, to good, close competitive racing where everyone stands a chance of winning. Well, the first race at Rio saw more lead changes than all of last season, and a surprise winner, Ferrari's Nigel Mansell. But the McLarens never had a chance. Ayrton Senna taken out in a first-lap crash. And later, Alain Prost had a faulty clutch that wouldn't allow him to change to fresh tires. Since Brazil, however, the McLaren team has put in a considerable amount of testing at the Dino Ferrari Autodromo. And it paid off. Senna and Prost 2 seconds faster than anybody else. They led the 26 cars to a clean start. Then on lap 4, disaster struck. Gerhard Berger's Ferrari goes off course at about 180 miles an hour. A horrible crash that punctures the fuel cell in the right side pod.
This is a terrible tragedy. The car is on fire.
A thing you don't see very often in Grand Prix racing today.
After a tremendous crash, we'll have to find out as soon as we can who it is, but this does not look good at all. Fire marshal's now on hand. The fire is now out.
It's amazing that anyone could have come out of this twisted metal alive. His injuries, a fractured rib and left shoulder. His only burns, 2nd degree on his left hand. Mansell was relieved to find out his teammate was okay, but was concerned the same thing might happen to him. Regardless, he raced on. Once the race resumed, the two McLarens left everyone in their wake. Battling for third was Italian Riccardo Patrese in a Williams and Mansell, but neither would be around for the finish. Blown engines forced both to drop out near the halfway point, causing the crowd of over 200,000 to go home early, disappointed. But the action was not over yet on what turned out to be a crash-filled day. Here, Stefano Modena, driving a Brabham Judd, loses it, slides back across the track and into the sand trap, out of harm's way. Even Prost had a problem, spinning after setting the race's fastest lap while trying to catch his teammate. In contrast to the opener at Rio, this race was a real yawner. Senna wins after leading every lap. And here we go again. The McLarens finished 1-2, lapping the entire field. Now remember, San Marino is one of the fastest circuits Formula One competes on. Things may be more difficult for the McLarens in 2 weeks at Monaco. The latest on the condition of Berger, well, he's been released from the hospital in Italy and is recuperating near Innsbruck in his native Austria. And here with more details now is John Bizignano at his home in Colorado. John, how did Gerhard survive this terrible accident?
Well, Bob, it was actually technology that saved Gerhard Berger. 3 elements of motorsport safety all came together at the same time. Track safety, chassis development, and of course personal driver protection. The barriers around the ultra-fast San Marino circuit, they absorbed the initial impact. The chassis itself made of crushable carbon fiber. It collapsed all around Gerhard, but of course that actually saved him from serious injury. And maybe most important, his flame-proof suit protected him from the flames, and the oxygen bottle fed pure oxygen into his helmet, and of course that helps him relative to suffocation or the inhalation of fire.
What caused the accident and how did it affect teammate Mansell?
Well, the accident was caused when a part of the front wing on the Ferrari actually came adrift at 180 miles an hour. The 400 pounds of downforce on the front of the Ferrari actually went away, and the 1,000 pounds of downforce being created at the rear of the car by the rear wing, which was still attached, virtually lifted the front of the Ferrari off the ground, and therefore, of course, losing all contact with the road and certainly all adhesion. There's no way the Ferrari could have negotiated the ultra-fast left-hander there in San Marino. Mansell was tremendously affected. You can understand that. He was asked to go back out onto the circuit in an identical car that had just had a major mechanical failure. He did not want to go out, and actually when the Ferrari boys persuaded him to do so, his heart really wasn't in the competition.
Now we hear that he's going to miss Monaco. Who do you think might replace him there?
Well, he's definitely going to miss Monaco, and he may actually miss Mexico as well. They have to think, is it really worth it to replace him? A nominated driver taking his place would not be able to score points within the World Championship, but if they do decide to run two cars, there are two drivers that come to my mind immediately, Patrick Tambay, who's available, and also Mario Andretti, of course, who substituted for the Ferrari team before and did very well. So it's not unlikely that maybe Mario Andretti could actually be asked to take up the seat for Berger over the next maybe 2 races.
Thanks very much, John. It's always nice having you with us.
Thank you very much, Bob.
Well, Mario was a substitute driver for Ferrari in 1982. He filled in for Didier Pironi at Monza, qualified on the pole, and eventually finished 3rd. Now, would Mario be interested in a substitute role again in '89? Well, he tells me no. He doesn't want to take time out of his Indy preparations to travel to Europe, test the car, and race it. And one other note regarding the Berger crash. You know that oxygen bottle that John credits with helping save Berger's life? Well, they're being recommended for 1989 kart IndyCar teams and may become mandatory beginning next year.
SpeedWeek is brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oil. The big Q stands for quality, always has, always will. And by Dodge Cars and Trucks. On the street or off the road, it's the new spirit of Dodge.
Coming up, Dale and Daryl go to driving school. And off-road drivers are wild about the Mint.
From dawn's early light till the sun is set, Quaker State engines don't know when to quit.
Quaker State exceeds every single car maker's U.S. requirements for maximum engine protection. That's why in Atlanta, Georgia, the engine in every fire truck, every police car, every Atlanta city-owned vehicle is a Quaker State engine.
Quaker State engines don't know when to quit.
The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will.
You'll find it at the heart of every Dodge machine competing today. It's on the track and off the road. It's the new spirit of performance.
The new spirit of Dodge. The new spirit of Dodge.
You got rain, wet, bumps and humps, curves, mud, holes and lumps, all the ruts and rocks that you're up against. You need Bridgestone confidence.
With just a finger's width of tire between you and the road, you need world-class technology, quality engineered to give you Bridgestone confidence.
No matter what, it just makes sense. You can't drive today without confidence. Bridgestone confidence.
Nature's light, giving life to sparkling streams, as only nature can, helps create the clean, fresh taste that makes Bud Light the one light that outshines them all.
The Monte Carlo era in Winston Cup racing, which began in Virginia, has now ended in Virginia. Last Sunday in Martinsville, the Chevrolet Monte Carlo was in its last race. It will be replaced at Talladega a week from Sunday by the Lumina. The Monte Carlo went out in style, winning the pole and capturing the first 2 finishing positions. Jeff Bodine's Monte Carlo led the 30 qualifiers. He was one of 18 to break the previous track record. Attrition was low. Over 100 laps went by before the first yellow. Jeff may have been a little impatient in trying to squeeze through the gap between Chad Little and Harry Gant. From Harry's in-car camera, you can see Little back down the track just enough to close up the opening. The result, a damaged race car and lost laps for repairs. Rusty Wallace was one of 5 different leaders, but then a drop valve in the engine put him out. We're more than halfway through this race, and Rusty is only the second to retire. When Bill Elliott hit the back of Dale Jarrett's spinning car, Elliott continued, and NASCAR held to its policy of not throwing a yellow. But there was oil on the track, and Larry Pearson found it.
Evidently, NASCAR didn't see the oil or something, but a caution should definitely have been thrown. They told us at the drivers' meeting, you know, that they were going to not throw the caution flag unless it was absolutely necessary, you know, a spin out or something like that. And if a guy kept going, then they wouldn't throw the caution.
But in this case, the policy designed to speed up races and reduce costly tire changes should have been used. Alan Kowicki is highest Ford driver in the points, 3rd. He was victim of a broken water pump for the 2nd time in 3 races. Rick Wilson had his best finish of the year of 4th in the Kodak Olds, although a lap down. And then there's Dick Trickle. This incredible story continues. A 3rd today, and his 4th top 5 finish in 7 events. Late laps boiled down to a battle for the lead between Darrell Waltrip and Dale Earnhardt. A late pit stop, though, was Dale's undoing. An air wrench broke as the crew tried to change left side tires. They got only the left front changed. Dale can't keep up with Darrell after that. One reason, NASCAR finds only 2 of 5 lugs on the left rear after the race, and the team is fined $300. Darrell won his 11th here at Martinsville, his 3rd of the year, tying him with Wallace for most wins, and he and Dale send the Monte Carlo to the mothballs with a 1-2 sweep. After a red-eye flight to the West Coast Sunday night, Martinsville's dynamic duo of Waltrip and Earnhardt became classmates for a couple of days of road course instruction at the Bob Bondurant School at Sears Point. Why?
I feel confident that I can drive a race car, but I don't feel confident I'm a good race course.
I got to get a more open mind.
Yeah.
I think I can't do that.
But you can.
And so the other thing I think is, why bother? Because I haven't had that big a problem. But that's the reason I'm here, is because I wanted to be better.
Instructors Bill Cooper and Ron Nelson familiarized both drivers with the demanding 2.5-mile course, a track unlike the familiar openness of Riverside or the rolling Watkins Glen circuit. Dale and Darrell were given seat time on both the passenger and driver sides. Their teachers not only led, but followed their students to instruct them how to improve their line. The hardest thing to overcome? Well, after 500 laps of stop and go at Martinsville, you wouldn't think it would be the art of braking.
The 2 fastest places on this track are really turn 9 and turn 1. And everything else in turn, you get to going through 1 up the hill to 2, and you're really going quick and feels good, and then you flat have to slow down for turn 2, and that's where you get the feeling that you don't want to slow down for it, but you flat have to.
When the Winston Cup Series arrives here in mid-June, fans will be watching to see if these two earn a passing grade. Since the inception of off-road racing 22 years ago, buggies have been the rulers of the desert, but not anymore. Jerry Garrett reports on the history-making Mint 400.
Off-road racers just love the Mint 400. At least they say they do. The rougher it is, the better these guys like it. Oh, ouch. When racers heard that this year's course was the roughest one ever, a record of nearly 400 vehicles turned out. As a measure of how tough it really was, only 25% of those 400 vehicles ever finished. Everybody suffered through this awful course, but some truck racers actually had a pretty decent day. At one point, late in the race, 3 of the top 5 overall were pickup trucks. Jack Johnson's 4-wheel drive Nissan threatened to win the race overall until it broke an axle just a few miles from the finish. He did win his class, though, as did Scoop Vessel's big 2-wheel drive Chevy. Scoop's chances for an overall were hurt by a missing windshield and some carburetor problems. But Ivan Stewart lived up to his nickname, the Iron Man, by bringing his Toyota pickup truck home for its first overall victory ever.
And didn't miss a lick, and we're tickled. The guys worked hard. We didn't get a chance to tech the car last night. We did it early this morning. So we're tickled. I think we got a truck that'll run with them now. I think they're all gonna be paying attention to that Toyota truck.
Butch Archiero and Bob Gordon finished second overall, but not without a very sportsmanlike assist from Ivan Stewart, of all people. When they stalled just a few miles from the finish, Stewart gave them a push. He pushed them for over 2 miles to the nearest pit, and then went on his way to win the race. Reporting for Speedweek, this is Jerry Garrett.
The fifth round of the IMSA Camel GT Series held at the South Florida Fairgrounds in West Palm Beach was the most interesting and competitive of the season. The tricky 11-turn, 1.62-mile circuit was going to be a great equalizer and not allow anyone to run away and hide from the rest of the field. Even though Jeff Brabham and the Nissan won the pole for the fourth time this year, many believed it was going to be anyone's race to win.
We've been wandering back and forth and feel like we have a good race set up. We were a bit off in qualifying, but the race is the most important thing, and hopefully we can knock the king off this pole and take the win.
Remember at Miami earlier this year on a similar course, the Porsche was leading the Nissan and would have won it had it not been for a couple of late mistakes in the pits. Joining Brabham on the front row at West Palm, Dan Gurney's Group C Toyota. It was Jeff who took the early lead, though, determined to win his fourth in a row and pad his points lead. But it was not to be. Only 5 laps in, the engine blew. DNFs from this team don't happen very often. In fact, the last time Jeff failed to finish a 3-hour event was in San Antonio last September. Chris Cord and Drake Olson in the Toyota now have the lead. This car did lead at Road Atlanta, but this is the longest it's ever been out front. Meanwhile, Brabham is back in the race in a backup car. The team chose not to start the car, although it was qualified by Chip Robinson. Jeff's 7 laps down, but is going for manufacturer's points. Without the threat from Nissan, a total of 5 different manufacturers led at one time or another. The number 33 Pontiac Firebird, driven by Costas Los and John Louis Ricci. The number 61 Jaguar, driven by Price Cobb and John Nielsen. And the Daytona-winning Porsche, driven by Andretti and Bob Wallach, which set the race's fastest lap and passed the Jag with 45 minutes to go to take the win.
On a track like this, you take a lot of chances, and all of them we came through unscathed, and it was a lot like driving a midget again.
Jeff Brabham has fallen out of the IMSA GTP points lead. Price Cobb and John Nielsen, with second-place finishes in each of the 5 races, now lead, followed by Robinson, who received the points for the Nissan 6th-place finish at West Palm. Then Brabham and Busby Racing's Wallach and Andretti are tied for 5th. History was made over the weekend as Linda Ludeman became the first woman ever to win a race in the Camel GT Prototype Light class. The car had won at Miami with Linda's co-driver Scott Schubach behind the wheel, but this time it was a combined effort.
That feels great. I don't think it's really sunk in yet, but I'm really pleased that we finally got in the winner's circle together with me contributing.
Linda's the 3rd woman ever to win a race in IMSA. Kathy Rood was the first to win in the GTU division in the 1982 24 Hours of Daytona. And Lynn St. James has won 4 times, all in GTO, and is the first and only woman to ever win solo at Watkins Glen in September of 1985. The string of 5 straight second-place finishes by Jaguars' Price Cobb and John Nielsen tie an all-time motorsports record shared by Harry Gant and Richard Petty. Now, stay tuned. In our next segment, we'll kick off our coverage of the greatest spectacle in racing with a visit from a couple of drivers hoping to follow in the footsteps of the great Graham Hill.
Braking power. Ford Escort versus the Hyundai Excel. Recent independent tests of braking ability show that from a speed of 60 miles per hour, the Ford Escort will brake to a complete stop in 138.3 feet. The Hyundai Excel slightly more.
Hurry to your New England Ford dealers and see the incomparable Ford Escort for under $8,200.
If your car's worth $19.95, buy a $19.95 muffler. And at Napa, we got them. But if not, take Advantage, Napa's top-of-the-line muffler. The Advantage muffler fights rust with Absorbite, outlives most mufflers by 30%, restores like-new performance, and you'll save $20 now at participating Napa Auto Care Centers. So don't take chances. Take Advantage. You'll be glad you did.
In Amesbury, visit Gantier Service Station. In Salisbury, see Buddy's Garage.
Thursday Night Thunder rages on.
Oh, hang on, Andy.
Daring USAC midgets and sprints cap off a great night of racing Thursday at 10 Eastern, live on ESPN.
This weekend, 12 drivers will participate in the USAC Rookie Orientation Program designed to give first-timers a chance to become familiar with the Indianapolis Motor Speedway before the track officially opens for practice. It used to be when front-engine roadsters competed at Indy, you came to the 500 from sprint and midget ranks. A.J. Foyt is a good example. He'll try for his 32nd consecutive start this year and 5th win. 32-year-old Steve Butler is using that road. He won his 3rd consecutive USAC sprint car title last year, winning on dirt and on pavement. He also became only the 2nd driver in history to win the Silver Crown Championship dirt title in the same year as the Sprint Crown. More recently, in the age of rear-engine cars, drivers have come to Indy by way of road racing, many from Europe. Jim Clark was the first to win Indy in a rear-engine car in 1965. He went on to capture his 2nd Formula One title that same year. Graham Hill, a 2-time Formula One champion, is the most recent to win Indy as a rookie. Using that road this year will be 32-year-old Didier Taze. He brings with him a European Formula 3 history. In his 2nd year of competition in Super Vs here in the United States, he won the championship. The next year, he won the American Racing Series title, winning 3 of 9 events. He debuted in Indy cars in 1987 and notched a 3rd-place finish in the season finale last year at Miami. And joining us in our studios now are Steve Butler and Didier Taze. Steve, why did you choose the road to Indy as the sprints and the dirt cars?
Well, Bob, I always dreamed about being a race driver and actually read about the European greats like Nuvolari and Sterling Moss and those guys. But, you know, dreaming about it and getting to do it is 2 different things. And I started out actually in motorcycles when I was a teenager because I could afford a motorcycle. And then I ran out of money after about 4 or 5 years, and a friend took me out to the Kokomo Speedway, and I saw the sprint cars going around the track sideways and on the back wheels and everything else, and I thought, well, I'm already broke. Now's a good time to think about doing something different, so I decided to get into sprint car racing, and things have just kind of evolved from there.
So it was more or less a necessity because it was the most logical thing living in Indiana. Didier, you grew up in Europe. Was that pretty much the situation with you? European road racing and the single-seat formula cars?
Yeah, I want to be always a single-seater driver. I started by racing go-kart, then Formula 4, then Formula 3. Then I started to race here. I had an opportunity to drive Super V here in 1985. Then I won the championship in Super V after. And for me, that year was the first experience to race ovals, you know, and was something different because I never drove any ovals in Europe before.
Now, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is different from what either of you have probably ever dealt with before. You being from Europe, you being from the United States, is a difference in philosophy. You've been used to shifting gears and turning right and left and not a high-speed oval. Is that going to be a disadvantage to you when you go out there?
Oh, I think it's just the experience, I think, you know. If you get the feeling, you get the feeling for everything, I think.
How about you, Steve? You've been used to pedal to the metal around half-mile dirt tracks all the time. Do you therefore employ that philosophy when you take to the Speedway?
Yeah, the Speedway is definitely pedal to the metal, but it's so much different than, you know, my experience. It's almost double the speed range that we deal with in sprint cars. So, and the feel of the car is completely different. So I would definitely say that my experience is going to do me more good at Indianapolis than it would at Long Beach, but I don't know if it would be any better than the experience that Didier has.
Didier, is this a dream of yours, your ultimate dream to make the Indianapolis 500 and maybe win it?
I think it's a dream of all the drivers, but I try to do that race like another race, like a Super V race, Formula 4 race, or ARS race, because I know here's a big weekend, and if you get too much pressure, you do it wrong.
Is that the way you feel also, Steve?
Yeah, I think that, you know, the mental attitude is important for all race drivers, and since we all have a lot of pressure on us because we're kind of in the limelight, and you know, you have to have results to continue on in your career, and I think that you have to think about everything that you do as just another race and another day, and because if you think that it's going to be the end of the world, you know, if something doesn't go right, then you're going to choke.
We appreciate you both being here and wish you good luck, and we'll report next week on Speed Week as to how rookie orientation went for these 2 drivers, Steve Butler and Didier Taze. And we'll be right back with more of Speed Week.
From Rocky Mountain snow to Florida sun, Quaker State engines don't know when to quit.
Mine's
pushing 250,000 miles.
Quaker State engines run strong and run long.
95,000 miles and no problem.
Quaker State is quality engineered to exceed every single car maker's U.S. requirements for maximum engine protection.
This car's new. I'd be stupid not to use Quaker State.
Quaker State engines don't know when to quit.
The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will.
Nature's light, nourishing golden fields of barley, as only nature can, ensures the clean, fresh taste that makes Bud Light the one light that outshines them all.
Created to slip the bounds of nature and powered by an unrelenting force within. The intercooled, turbocharged Dodge Daytona Shelby.
0.0 financing or savings up to $3,000. Dodge, the cars and trucks America wants.
When he's working, when his work is done, a man wants a jean he can feel comfortable in. American Hero Jeans. From Wrangler.
You got rain, wet, bumps and humps, curves, mud, holes and lumps, all the ruts and rocks that you're up against. You need Bridgestone confidence.
With just a finger's width of tire between you and the road, you need world-class technology, quality engineered to give you Bridgestone confidence.
No matter what, it just makes sense. You can't drive today without confidence. Bridgestone confidence.
It could have been the tragic end to a promising career, but Player of the Year John Olerud has returned. His inspirational story is part of Sunday Night College Baseball, live on ESPN.
Some of the historic video seen on Speedweek is provided by Dick Wallen's Racing Classics. Well, for the first time in 5 weeks, we here at ESPN will not be bringing you any live NASCAR Winston Cup action. Our coverage resumes on May the 7th with the next race on the NASCAR schedule, the Winston 500 at Talladega. But before we proceed any further, our Speedweek staff thinks a little reflection is in order. Here's a look at some of the highlights and the lowlights of the month of April. Ah, yes, the lost weekend. We've all experienced it at least once in racing. How about Gary Rubio's lost weekend at Long Beach? First, he spins out and clips Paul Tracy, then pulls out in front of Tony George. As he tries to drive away, he doesn't realize the CV joints are broken, and boom, he's into the wall.
You're taking everything out of my life. I don't want that without you. Go ahead, crash it.
Also at Long Beach, the now infamous Al Jr. and Mario Andretti incident.
Mario, is that racing or is that aggressive driving? That's stupid driving.
What a ridiculous statement.
Sometimes drivers just get a tad bit angry with each other. Take Bobby Rahal and Bernard Jourdain at Phoenix. I wonder what Bobby had to say.
Do you mind?
Thursday Night Thunder has really lived up to its reputation so far. How about this fight between Paige Jones's crew member and the track official who tried to tow away Paige's car? Looks like a fun dance.
Come. We'll do it again.
Racing isn't always this dangerous, but sometimes the interviews are.
Everybody spins out once in a while, and it's their fault every now and then. And I'm lost. I forgot what I was gonna say. Keep your cool, you know, wait for the right time, and a lot of times the race will come to you as long as you're still out there running hard. And so I did it again.
I'm a nervous wreck.
What about the track conditions, though? Are they as bad as we alluded to, or is it as tough out there as we thought it was?
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
Finally, our favorite daredevil jump. Eat your heart out, Robbie Knievel. Well, that's it for this edition of Speed Week. Don't forget to stay tuned. Coming up next is IHRA drag racing from Darlington. We leave you with a tribute to the end of the Monte Carlo era in NASCAR Winston Cup racing. Dale Earnhardt was champion of all. He won 26 in a Monte Carlo. So long, everyone.
Speed Week has been brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oil. The big Q stands for quality, always has, always will. And by Bud Light. Everything else is just a light.